Green-blue crush on the left, Todd, Team Emerge on the right. 14th and 15th in the 2016 standings. Both these players would like to have a deep run in this tournament.
Absolutely. Both players, of course, are open winners.
Jacob Baugh has a standard open already here in 2016. One with Rally the Ancestors. He starts on Lumbering Falls. For Todd, it is Vessel of Nascency. Jacob will pass. This green-blue deck, to me, is capitalizing on the fact that there's very little aggro in this format. There's basically one deck, and the mono-white deck. I can't imagine Jacob ever beats that thing. But but if everyone's just doing mid-range things, yeah, big ramp is a great way to be.
Yeah, this is one of those decks, when you register this, you're just ignoring humans as a pillar of the format. You're saying, well, I hope I don't get that matchup. I think that I can go bigger than everything else.
So Nissa's Pilgrimage is the first play from Baugh. It's on turn 3. For Todd, he cracks Vessel of Nascency to take a Shrine. Now bins an Emrakul, a Kozilek's Return, and a Gather the Pack. So with his Vessel, he does have 4 card types already in the graveyard.
And this is another one of those matchups where Kozilek's Returns are not really going to be at his best. Baugh does have some creatures in the deck. There's some Sylvan Advocates. Nissa Vastwood Seer could potentially get caught. Of course, those Den Protectors, though he's generally quite strong against return.
Go to Todd Anderson here. He's going to start with Traverse the Ulfenwald. He already has a Shrine in his hand, so it's not that he's looking for the land. He gets Yavimaya Coast.
It's an interesting spot when you have Delirium and you just get this non-basic land that taps for mana.
It feels like you're doing it wrong when you make the play in the deck. He'll play it. And he'll keep going. Players are just going to take turns ramping here. It's Primal Druid from Todd. His ramp has some assembly required. And
his only land beyond that is that Shrine. So getting the Yavimaya Coast enables him both to have double blue for casting Delta Deep Fiend off of Emerge, and also casting a green spell on this turn.
Pieces of the Puzzle from Jacob Baugh. You may not be familiar with this one. Reveal the top 5 of your deck. Put up to 2 instants or sorceries in your hand. The rest of them in your graveyard. It's from Avacyn Restored. Not Avacyn Restored. Sorry. Shadows. Has the Avacyn symbol. He gets Anticipate and looks like Traverse.
And just flips Crush of Tentacles into the graveyard there. This deck is quite capable of using a Den Protector to get that one back. So even though it is the namesake card of the deck, doesn't really care about drawing it too much.
No, not really. For Jacob Baugh's deck also, he doesn't particularly care about Delirium. He has 1 copy of Emrakul in his deck. That's the only card that cares. At least in the main deck.
And he only plays the 1 copy of Traverse. The thing that this card does for the deck, it sort of lets you have a second Emrakul, and also in the early game, you just use it to make a land drop.
He'll go ahead and Traverse for a land. Passes back over to Todd. I do like Traverse how it can interact with Crush of Tentacles. It can surge the card very easily.
And one thing, in the past, you've seen green-blue Crush decks that play Oath of Nissa, which is really good at both enabling Surge and picking up with your Crush of Tentacles. Baugh actually not playing any copies of that.
Yeah, it's like you can't really play an Oath of Nissa Pieces of the Puzzle deck. It's, you know,
the
only one of those will work.
The Oath doesn't find the spells that he really wants to draw, where the Pieces does.
All right, Todd's turn was a 4th land and a Vessel. With the right card, he's going to set up to start playing Eldrazi next turn. Something can emerge out of Primal Druid. We go to Jacob Baugh's turn here, though. It's his 5th turn. Starts with what looks like an Explosive Vegetation.
So the strengths of Elder Deep Fiend are that it usually triggers Kozilek's Return, empties a bunch of your opponent's battlefield. Baugh has no creatures on the table, has a bunch of cards in hand, so you're not really getting those resources there. Also, just has a bunch of lands on the battlefield, so the Deep Fiend's tempo advantage is really not very significant in this matchup either.
Yeah, it's touchy in the matchup, to be sure. Jacob can just ramp to a spot where it doesn't matter. It is Todd's best way of winning early on. It's some damage, and he can chain them. So he cracks the Vessel, finds some lands, a Nissa's Pilgrimage, and a Gather the Pack. He takes a Forest off it.
To be fair, Emrakul can use some of the cards in Jacob's hand when Todd's taking control of his turn, so that card is still fairly solid here. Though a lot of the stuff, Jacob's stuff, he'll get some value. You can't just discard as part of the water veils.
Yeah, Todd's got to make a play soon, though. He's going to be running out of time if he doesn't find some pressure. As he untaps, this is his 5th turn. Jacob, last turn, ramped up to 8 lands. So he's going to untap with 9. At that point, we're starting to look at Awoken part the water veils.
Time Walk is a strong Magic card. When it comes with power and toughness,
it's a broken Magic card.
Yeah.
Play and Crack of Traverse for Todd. He finds Elder Deep Fiend. Plays a Forest and now looks to cast another Primal Druid. So here's the turn for Baugh. He will anticipate on end step. We knew about that one off the pieces of the puzzle. Jace, Unraveler of Secrets, appears to be in Jacob's hand. But he might be looking for a bigger payoff than just that. It's a 1 of Jace in the main deck. So back over to Baugh we will go, starting the turn with 8 lands. Drawing and 8-card hand. He is going to have to play something. He's going to see what Haymaker he has. Well, he'll do Emrakul the Promised End. 9 lands, 4 card types in graveyard. I believe that lines up just right. Got instant sorcery creature land, so that'll work. He's going to play Todd's turn. Untap, so we see Deep Fiend, lands, Mountain, Grapple, Kozilek's Return.
It's not a lot that Jacob can actually sabotage here. He can cast the Grapple and miss with that. He can just put the Deep Fiend on the table now so it can't mess up his mana or his Lumbering Falls on a key future turn.
Yeah, he can't do both, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a Shrine, he might be able to do both. No, he's still mana short. So he plays land here. Primal Druid will attack, Emrakul will block. Todd might even be okay with that. I don't... Oh, okay. He's getting himself an extra land here. This is neat. If he wants to do both those things you mentioned, he's found a way to do it. He attacks with Primal Druid. There's a block. That will be land 6. Now if he plays the Shrine of the Forsaken Gods out of Todd's hand, there's enough mana, because that counts double, that he can play both the Deep Fiend and the Grapple. This is a really neat play by Jacob.
Okay, nice. Yeah, normally you wouldn't want to do something like resolve that Primal Druid trigger, but...
Yeah, play your opponent's land drop and then give him a Rampant Growth. It's like
right.
Unusual.
Yeah.
So he'll play Grapple, mill 3, get 0 back.
And Primal Druid is a sort of card, because it has 0 power, you might assume that it has Defender, but clearly that's a line that you would miss.
This is great. Now he'll emerge the Elder Deep Fiend out of the Primal Druid, decline the Druid trigger. You still have to shuffle when you fail to find, as Todd is doing.
Mm-hmm.
But tapping some of Todd's things. He leaves Todd with 2 lands and a Kozilek's Return. That's a pretty medium hand, especially considering that Jacob has a 13-13 already.
And Baugh just goes ahead and gets the Kozilek's Return that was already in Anderson's graveyard right on out. It could potentially tag a Lumbering Falls on a future turn or something like that.
No, Todd's going to be top decking. He plays a land and passes. We're over to Jacob Baugh. 1 part the Water Veil should do it. Don't think he has it, but he's got a lot of other good stuff. Plays land with the Advocate, Jace, Crush of Tentacles, Den Protector. All right, he'll start by swinging for 13 with Emrakul. Todd's down to 5. Great options here for Baugh. Here's 5. Looks like he may be going for the Planeswalker. And as far as he can win a lot of different ways here. Now it's to decide what the safest one or the most likely one is.
Mm-hmm. He's already forcing Todd to top deck something to stop the Emrakul from killing Todd on the following turn. So I think he just wants to use his cards to give himself the best potential way to buy back into the game should something go wrong on that front. Just drawing the card off the Jace here seems solid. He can put a Den Protector into play face down and leave up the activation of that. Even casting Sylvan Advocate's totally reasonable here.
Yeah. Plays Jace, Scry, draw, plays Advocate, plays Nissa's Pilgrimage. This deck just scales very well in the way where there's the blue-green kind of cycle where lands draw you spells, draw you lands, draw you spells, and then it just keeps going. And the blue-green Crush deck's great at this.
The significant hurdle for the deck is making its first 3 land drops, which is not a very big ask. Once you get that going, Nissa's Pilgrimage will carry you through really most of the rest of the game.
Yeah, I think what the scary part is like one Spell Queller can just dent really hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Spell Queller and just the mono-white human decks are kind of the 2 concerns for this deck in the early game. And then in the late game, it's just kind of the biggest there is.
So Todd there played Wretched. He attacked the Jace, emerged Wretched Griff, was hoping to draw Emrakul, but did not. After he got the card draw, he concedes, and game 1 goes to Jacob Baugh and Green-Blue Crush.
And I believe that Green-Blue Crush is sort of favored in this deck. It just goes bigger.
It's a big favorite here. You know, it's like when you want to beat a ramp deck, you should ramp harder.
Yep.
And Jacob's just doing that. So looking at the sideboards, we'll go over to Todd Anderson's board. One of the difficulties for him in this matchup is that so few of his cards matter. You know, you saw Kozilek's Return and Elder Deep Fiend just look silly in that matchup. So looking at the sideboard, what do we have for the match?
Okay, so the Jace Fin Prodigy to help him get a little more lean, try to craft his game plan. Those seem excellent here. I sort of like Ulamog just because he needs more ways to actually close the game.
Got more cards that do things.
Right. And along those lines, bringing in the Explosive Vegetation to help enable those big spells. And then the 2 Clash of Wills might be the most important cards in Todd's sideboard here because they can slow Jacob down, maybe hit that first Nissa's Pilgrimage.
It's interesting. It's like we're saying that Todd should board it. It's like post-board, he's turning into the deck that Jacob already is. You know, saying, oh, maybe I should play some Vegetations too and maybe some Jaces. Now, to be fair, these are the types of cards that Jacob's already on.
Right.
All right, looking at Baugh's sideboard, there's not too much he needs to do, but he still has some cards he can use for the matchup. He's got a lot of counter spells and an Ulamog. How many of these does he like?
Summary Dismissal seems great. Todd's big card is Emrakul, so anytime your opponent's trying to do that, the Dismissal is just tailor-made for that purpose. You can bring in the Ulamog, it's another big thing. Maybe get some down to your lower mana spells out of your deck, like the Sylvan Advocates aren't really great here. They're okay. And I do like the Orbs of Warding. It's another answer to Emrakul. Todd will never be able to take your turn because you have Hexproof.
Well, if you're joining us for the first time here on SCG Live, or whether you're with us every week, go ahead and join the conversation here. We broadcast our tournaments on weekends on Twitch.tv and on StarCityGames.com. So joining the conversation, we have our feature match Twitch subscription program. For $4.99 a month, you get access to subscribers-only chat, custom emoticons, and a badge. And also, you get to vote on the decks and players you want to see in the quarterfinals on Sundays. So for the elimination rounds, we have all of that. Head on over to twitch.tv/SCG Live to get signed up. Todd Anderson was the winner in round 4. We saw him dispatch Jadine Klumperens. Teamer merge over her Bant Company deck. Now at 5-0, he faces the opponent of Jacob Baugh. For Baugh, originally, for Todd, a storied player here on the SCG Tour. Looking, of course, for another top 8. You see 6 wins with whopping 28 open top 8s. He is really one of... It's hard to say when you have that many top 8s that he's one of the most underrated players on the tour, but I still feel like that's the case every time we come to cover a tournament.
And when we talk about players that have really improved a lot in the last few years, Todd's a shining example of that. His game is really good, and he's found decks in previous formats that he's really been able to master. Todd Anderson on Jeskai Black in the previous standard format, always playing very impressively.
Now for Jacob Baugh, he's a bit of an up-and-comer. Originally of Team Lotus, now on Team Card Hoarder, the player from Waterloo, Illinois, is part of that really Illinois-Indiana team that has kind of come from nowhere this season. He has 9 open top 8s, has 2 wins. We already saw him win 1 with Rally the Ancestors this weekend, or this year. What has been surprising with Jacob's game, or has been really neat about it, is his ability to metagame. It's rather fearless to show up with something like Blue-Green Crush at an open here. A lot of players wouldn't pull the trigger on that.
And you see a big strength here on his player slide. It plays all types of board games, RPG, PC games, card games. That's something, that kind of experience really makes it easy for you to jump into a Magic format once you're already playing Magic at a high level. You can just look at a format and kind of know what the most important things are. The players that I know that have that kind of breadth of game knowledge tend to be able to jump in and pick up a deck very efficiently.
Player starting off just trading some lands. Traverse for Todd, tap land for Jacob. One of the things I like, and now going back to our match here, what I like about Green-Blue Crush is Temur Merge is a ramp deck, but a lot of its ramp spells aren't actually ramp spells. You look at like Pilgrim's Eye, Primal Druid, you know, Nissa. They get lands and have to do with lands, but they don't always ramp. Whereas Jacob's deck is, you know, it's Pilgrimages, Hedron Archives, Explosive Vegetations, 4 of all of them. Like this is ramping.
Yeah, Todd's deck requires a much more specific context for the pieces to really be working.
Yeah, you see now Todd plays as Nissa. You'd say, okay, well, if next turn he has the Wretched Gryph, now the Primal Druid's a ramp spell. That's cool. And it's only a single ramp, whereas on Jacob's side, it's like, yeah, well, I'll just play a Vegetation. That's a double ramp go.
Right.
Anticipate for Baugh.
And meanwhile, the Primal Druid can't connect for any damage. Just a 0/3 hanging out.
Yeah, he has to keep it in because the card lets him cheat out his threats, and Todd needs to get damage in this matchup, but the card's medium.
Never before have I wished that I had Viridian Emissary.
Jacob will play Nissa's Pilgrimage. And you see just how committed to ramping this Crush deck is. That is indeed a copy of Blighted Woodland in play for Jacob Baugh. His lander up for the turn. If you don't know that one, it's because it's real narrow. But this is the land from Battle for Zendikar. If you paid a lot of mana on sacrifice, he can go ahead and get 2 basic land cards tapped.
It's Explosive Vegetation on a land.
Well, it's not like rampant growth because you have to sack a land to do it. It's
details.
I'm curious how often he actually uses this thing, but it's there. It's probably free.
I had a copy of this card in a deck. I'm trying to remember what the deck was, but I know I've played this card.
Here you go. Todd's going to keep pace. He plays Explosive Vegetation and hits with Nissa. I really love this situation, especially with the Vegetation. It means that Todd gets to flip into a Planeswalker next turn. But for Jacob, and here's a card out of his sideboard you got to watch out for. His turn 4 play was the card Orbs of Warding. Yeah.
This makes it so that, given that he has hexproof, Todd will not be able to take any of Jacob's turns with an Emrakul. Also, it makes it so that Nissa's only punching in for 1, as it prevents 1 damage from every creature damage source.
Yeah, I'll say that was the most important part. The Nissa, the Ishkana spiders are going to do 0. The you have gaining hexproof. This card's pretty relevant here. The fact that Jacob's willing to pay 5 mana for it is ridiculous, but it kind of shows what's going on in the matchup that he has time to do that sort of thing.
It was the Ulamog ramp deck before Shadows that I played the Blighted Woodland, and I figured it out. The deck was very, very medium.
So for Todd, he plays a land, flips the Nissa, then plays a pair of Primal Druids.
On the topic of very medium.
Well, if he kept the Kozilek's returns in, you see where I'm going with this. Okay.
Sure. He can cast Kozilek's Return, cast some fatty, and then kill all of his Primal Druids.
Look at all, and then a waterfall of lands will enter the battlefield. He just won't. He'll just be rich with them. It'll be great.
That's probably his primary strategy in these post-sideboard games.
He has to keep up. You see Jacob's ramping every turn. Another Nissa's Pilgrimage for Baugh. And that's the scary thing is that the Crush deck, once it gets up to about 10 lands, yeah, I know, it's a great way to start a sentence. But once it gets to 10 lands, he can win without ever giving Todd a turn. He might just start part the Water Veiling, crushing, part the Water Veiling. It gets really bad.
Well, Temur Emerge is a very significant portion of the standard metagame, and it's a deck that's going to consistently let you get up to those 10 lands is not really even a question. It's just going to happen in the majority of games.
Todd will play a Morph. Both players know here that it is Den Protector. No copies of Stratus Dancer in his deck.
That would be okay here.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad.
Stratus Dancer is actually quite solid against this Crush deck.
Another Nissa's Pilgrimage for Baugh. I'm sure he has more forests. Probably. He plays 11.
Baugh plays 9.
Oh, Todd's the one with 11. Baugh has 9.
No shortage of forests for either players.
This might be a bit of a last hurrah for these ramp decks. I remember we went all the way back to last year where we'd had Jim Davis winning the Players' Championship with Eldrazi Ramp.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about the cards they use, we're looking at Nissa's Pilgrimage and Explosive Vegetation. Those are from Dragons of Tarkir and Magic Origins.
Right. These decks are losing a lot of what allows these specific shells.
Yeah, this is going away.
Mm-hmm. We'll still have Hedron Archive. We'll still have some 2-mana creatures, but
Hedron Crawler, yeah. Wolfenvault Captive.
Death Cap Cultivator.
Okay.
But nothing like this will be available, so Part the Water Veil will lose quite a bit of stock.
And look at this, Todd, end step, flip Stem Protector, getting back Explosive Vegetation. Yeah, that's what this matchup's about. I agree, too.
Yeah.
It's all about lands. I mean, Todd might ultimate this Nissa at some point, and that wins.
Yep. So Baugh is approaching do something territory.
Right, that's like the really dorky part of this green-blue crush deck is if you look at Baugh's graveyard and battlefield, the cards he's cast this game are and anticipate 3 Nissa's Pilgrimages and 1 Orbs of Warding. Like, these don't do anything. Oh, and look, he's got enough mana to activate Blighted Woodland. He's going to do that, too.
This is like your kind of Magic.
I love this. There's not a single real card in sight. This Den Protector does 2. Orb's going to shut that down in case Todd was hoping for 3.
And while the Crush deck is not great at actually getting Planeswalkers permanently off the table, a Crush of Tentacles will at least reset this Nissa.
This is great. Yeah, Explosive Vegetation from Todd. That one he got back.
You would be giving Todd back his Den Protector, but that's not really high on Baugh's list of concerns.
No, Baugh's, when he attacks, his weapon is going to be so large that it's not going to matter. You know, he'll wait until he has a bunch of Part the Water Veils, things like that. Todd going to cash in one of those Primal Druids off Wretched Griff. Gets a Forest. Then he gets to draw cards, stacking the triggers, so he gets the land out of his deck first before he draws the card.
Good ordering.
Sometimes you switch around the ordering depending on whether you want to land or not, or if you want to try to bluff your opponent.
Yeah, that'd be a really strong bluff.
I want you to think I'm land heavy, so I'm going to search then draw, but I actually needed the land. Jacob, he's at the ready with Blighted Woodland. He's ready for more lands.
And that Orbs of Warding makes it so this Wretched Griff only attacks for 2.
It's just holding the fort down for Jacob. To be fair, effects like this, you know, the Cumberstone style effects, actually do a lot of work.
Yeah. If it were the entire text box, we would not be seeing it here, but it is not insignificant.
It's, man, 5 mana for that. That's, love it. Just love it. Jacob will crack the Blighted Woodland. So Jacob gets himself lands number 9 and 10. And for Todd, I think he's actually ahead.
He's ahead on mana, but he's way behind on things that his deck can do with that much mana.
He is behind on foolishness.
Well, yeah, if Jacob Baugh's deck had a bunch of Primal Druids, I would feel a lot worse about his position.
Jacob has more ridiculous cards in his hand than Todd does, and that's where the advantage is.
Right. So interestingly, Baugh wants to find a way to Crush a Tentacles the Nissa off the board and then recast the Orbs of Warding on the same turn. He doesn't want to just do that and then let Todd have Emrakul potentially.
He untaps with 10 mana. He gets to up to an 11th land. He can maybe play a 1 mana spell, play a 5, play a 5. He's not. These plays you're talking about. See, the Surge on Crush is 5, and Orbs is 5. It requires a lot of mana.
One thing about Baugh's list, there's really very little in the way of 1 mana spells. Once you move off of Oath of Nissa, he has the 1 Traverse the Elvenwald.
Well, there we go.
And he's mostly starting on 2 mana spells.
Part the Water Veil Awakened for Jacob Baugh on his Lumbering Falls. That's going to make it a 6/6. Now, it's kind of interesting when you put this on a creature land. It's a 6/6 regular creature, and if you then ever, on a later turn, if Jacob Baugh activates it, then it will be a 3/3 hexproof with 6 counters on it, so it'll be a 9/9 hexproof.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll swing at Nissa. Perfect amount, but Todd will cash in a Primal Druid. So now we wonder how many Part the Water Veils does Baugh have?
If you can just part the Water Veil combo, just keep casting them.
Crush of Tentacles, the draw for Baugh. Sure, that can do something.
Notably, part the Water Veil does exile itself, so you can't really get into a position where you can just Den Protector and part the Water Veil the game away.
It's probably for the better. As much as I would love to do that, and I would. Here's another Part the Water Veil awakened on another Lumbering Falls. See, this deck's, we said that Jacob's deck is ahead of, has more nonsense in it. This is what we mean.
Yes.
Actually going to awaken a forest, not the Lumbering Falls.
Todd has more mopey nonsense in Primal Druid. Jacob has more, what does that card do?
Look,
nonsense.
I'm playing this 9-mana sorcery that requires me to have a 10th land in play. It's very good right here. And he's swinging with both creatures at Nissa. It's good that he's swinging at Nissa. See, if Jacob was swinging those creatures at Todd, then Todd would have to realize, oh, Jacob has a third Part the Water Veil. Because there's a certain point at which he ignores the Nissa and just says, I'm going to take every turn from here on out.
Well, a third Part the Water Veil is officially lethal. Crack for 12 on this turn, take an extra turn, crack for 12 more. Todd's out of blockers.
Yeah, that's great. Third Part the Water Veil, sign me up. I mean,
which is probably usually the case, right?
It's easy from here, right? We just take all the turns.
Nice thing about Crush of Tentacles, too, is he's got these creatures that are lands, so the Crush will not force him to pick them up.
Well, does he even need to do that? I'm going to throw this out here. Why, he can just, like, attack for 12 and say go, right?
Yeah.
Why do we care?
I think he has approximately 30 winning lines from this point. Give or take.
Vegetation into Crush, make an 8/8. I don't know. I think Jacob may want to keep up the Orbs of Warding, right? Emrakul is a way you can lose. I don't even know if Emrakul loses, but sure.
Yeah, if he's going to Crush, he probably wants to be able to recast the Orbs. His position seems good enough against... Well, actually, unless he can kill Todd on the following turn, he does have Yavamayakos in play, and Emrakul does attack for 13. So Emrakul is reasonably threatening.
Oh, the Coast deals 1 damage, sure. I mean, he's just going to crush it. He's got a million Crush of Tentacles. Todd's going to play Emrakul and then see a hand of 2 Crush of Tentacles and be like, well, I can't do anything about that. Here's Explosive Vegetation from Baugh. Getting more lands out of his deck. 2 basic islands. He might be crushing here. I don't know if he would play that pre-combat unless he was planning to crush.
If he was going to Crush, I'd probably kill the Nissa first.
Okay, he's got Spell Shrivel. Look at his hand. His Lumbering Falls, Spell Shrivel, Crush of Tentacles, and then a bunch of nothing. He has 15 damage. All right, he'll swing 12 at Todd. Todd goes to 8. Ignoring the Nissa, big fan. Now Crush of Tentacles. That's surged. This just seems like he's opened himself up, though, right? 8/8. I mean, it's probably good enough. But Todd has an Emrakul. He can cast it now. The Orbs of Warding are gone. And he'll pass. Play another Lumbering Falls.
If Emrakul is a weak point, he has exposed himself. I don't know if it's actually enough for Todd.
That's fair. You should assume Todd has it, though, right?
That's what his deck's about. Has it or can find it, I would put Todd on.
I guess it's just as likely that Todd has an Ulamog, in which case this line is much stronger.
True.
A lot of mana at the ready for Todd. You see that's 11 right there he's laid out. Uncertain just how much he needs for the Emrakul.
Now for Baugh, the Octopus is a lethal attacker. The Lumbering Falls with an activation is a lethal attacker. And that Forest with the counters plus the other Lumbering Falls would be a combination of lethal attacks.
Yeah, there's 2 more Lumbering Falls on Jacob's side that are tapped just off the screen. So here's the Promised End for Todd. And a Den Protector. He's trying to get as many blockers out as he can. And now he'll take Baugh's turn. Untaps. Spell Shrivel, Orbs of Warding, and Forests. Draws Summary Dismissal.
So I'm pretty sure that Todd can cast all of those spells to just empty them out of Jacob's hand. I believe he has enough mana for that.
So there's this issue here. I guess Todd has left up double blue so that he can sacrifice the Emrakul for to an Elder Deep Fiend. There's one of these creatures is dead. It's probably the Lumbering Falls that's a land.
Right.
The one with 6 counters. That's going to attack into Emrakul. That's got to be Jacob's best creature. With 4 more attackers on Jacob Baugh's side, yeah, Todd's going to have to suicide that. And then I think on top of that, he's going to have to evoke the Elder Deep Fiend. Or emerge it. So Jacob's going to cast Orbs of Warding, go to 13 off the Painland, then he's going to Summary Dismissal it and Spell Shrivel it. So everything's gone. Lumbering Falls will attack, Emrakul will block. Pass. Upkeep, we'll see if there's a play that Jacob wants to make. Todd has him held on upkeep. He's got the Elder Deep Fiend. Todd got to go there with the Emrakul. And he'll pass. Island is the draw for Baugh. That doesn't do much of anything. Jacob will activate 2 Lumbering Falls.
He's lining it up, making sure this is the course that he wants. Possibly checking see if he has backup activations in case they could get tapped by a Deep Fiend. You can activate in response, give the land hexproof.
Yeah, it's actually hard to tap Lumbering Falls. 2 blockers, once. So if Todd just lets Baugh attack, though, he's not actually dead.
Yeah, I could just eat the octopus, chump block the 6/6, and then go to 2.
And then hit him back for 13 and win.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Baugh,
Todd has this.
I think Baugh gave this one to Todd with that crush bouncing the orbs.
And that's going to be the play. Todd's going to block, go to 2. Now, that's not necessarily wrong for Jacob. As I mentioned before, his play plays around Ulamog much better. But yeah, bouncing the orbs seems to have cost Baugh the game. Yeah. Todd's going to draw, serve 13. He has Baugh at 13. You mentioned that Yavimaya Coast was enough to put Baugh in range. I think he might have it.
So I was just making sure he doesn't accidentally do something foolish, but I believe you just got to turn this sideways and it should be good.
Well, there's one unknown card.
And Jacob makes this easy.
It makes it easier for him. So we are on to game 3 here. Todd Anderson and Jacob Baugh. So, I was kind of excited there because Jacob started the game on 3 Nissa's Pilgrimages, and I wanted him to play the 4th one because I have this on my bingo sheet. But then he didn't do it.
I wanted Todd to cast a second Emrakul.
Oh, is that on yours?
Yeah, I have
okay.
Emrakul cast twice by the same player.
I don't even have that one.
I have.
That sounds great.
I have Crush of Tentacles cast for its surge cost.
That definitely did just happen.
Wow. Let me double check. Was that a turn 4 win?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, that was not a turn 4 win.
Dang. All right. Well, they're going to get ready for the deciding game 3. You have to be quick about it. It's about 16 minutes on the clock. That is accurate. Both these players at 5-0 as they shuffle up for game 3. So as they play here, it is game night somewhere. Of course, when I'm talking about StarCityGames.com game night. This is the promotion we have running at stores around the country where you can win exclusive tokens and pins just for playing in the weekly tournament at your store. Here in September, the prize you will win at a game night is the Bone Chewer Giant. This is the 5/5 Giant Warrior token that looks exactly like everyone's favorite Giant from Morningtide in their Commander decks. Next month, we will be giving away the October promotion, which is the Hedgehog-a-Hog. This is, of course, the 1/2 art. It's just a bunch of different hedgehogs hanging out. They're different colors. It's a lot. It's awesome. And if you get signed up now, if say your store's not signed up, but you do want to sign up, we can get you registered in time for November. And that's our newest one. It is the Mole Warden. So you see this here, lots of great cards, some tokens and pins available. StarCityGames.com game night to sign up and to find a store near you.
Are those bees?
They're fireflies. Remember how the enchantment creatures were all glittery around the edges? So you can tell they're enchantments, it's fireflies.
And bees are not glittery.
No, bees aren't glittery.
Okay.
Unless they're having a party, then they could be.
They could be. Yeah, you don't know how bees live their life. Don't be so judgmental.
That's gross.
That bee pun was a solid D-.
Certainly wasn't to be. Got a mulligan, it looks like, happening on Todd Anderson's side. In a ramp matchup, I don't want to be the guy mulliganing. And I know that Jacob is a ramp deck and Todd's, kind of a ramp deck. But in this matchup, Todd tries to be a ramp deck.
Right.
All his non-ramp cards are the cards he doesn't want to see.
Yep. He's not going to just druid into Wretched Griff and have that be good enough in a matchup like this.
Yeah, Wretched Griff's pretty... You actually still play it, but it's not good.
Yeah.
Like, well, I guess you need it because it turns... The worst part is, the reason you have to play it is because it's part of the thing that turns Primal Druid into a ramp spell. So it's like you're yeah.
It's a combo.
Yeah, that's a real generous way. But Todd plays a second land. Now, of note, he decided to leave up Clash of Wills when he could have gathered the Pact. And Jacob missed a land drop. This is actually really big. Jacob misses a land drop again. Now he's discarding. Todd has a Clash of Wills in hand. Jacob drops a card on the floor. That's okay, though. We picked that one up. He's going to play a 2/1 Den Protector. I don't even know if that'll get the counterspell from Todd. I don't think so.
Todd's on a 10-turn clock.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Todd, that is not the right magic card. We're going to pause that for a second here. That is Gather the Pack.
I don't know. Maybe we're back on Todd's turn. He's certainly resolving Gather the Pack.
Yeah, that's not... All right. So that's a sorcery. Unless he's doing it on... Yeah. We might actually be in his main phase. Okay. We're going to pause here. If he's in his main phase pre-land, we're okay. If we are trying it on Jacob Baugh's end step, then... All right, we're pausing. They're going fast. It's in his main phase. We're great. We're great. They're great. We're wrong. Continuing on.
What's this we nonsense?
Yeah, okay, me. Got it. We thought he's going to go for Nissa's Pilgrimage. Yeah, none of that. Clash of Wills it. Attack for 2. Todd's at 18.
9 more turns.
There's the grapple. All right. Todd, 3 mana. He's going to go for some ramp of his own, perhaps. Pilgrim's Eye will not really ramp, but he's going to get another land, and an artifact creature finds an island, but plays a forest, passes the turn. Maybe he has something like grapple. That would be a neat trick. Now we have Nissa's Pilgrimage from Jacob, and he's going to go ahead and get 2 lands. He can still swing with the Den Protector. Can't be blocked. Might as well do it. Todd's at 16.
8 to go.
There's the grapple end step for Todd. Primal Druid and Den Protector into the bin. Now with the mana advantage, he could just try to Deep Fiend Jacob out of this game. Deep Fiend. If he can go, he'll take Nissa. But if he has that island, which you know about, he can Deep Fiend next turn. Then if he plays the Shrine, he can then Deep Fiend just off his lands the following turn, and he can get Jacob to 5.
Yeah.
That's the way they steal the game. You see Island in played for the turn. He'll attack for 1 with the Pilgrim's Eye, put Jacob down to 19.
And Jacob's deck's not really up to anything generally until he has 3 mana available, so that Deep Fiend would be quite good.
Yeah, the Nissa, now we're not Deep Fiending just yet. You see the Nissa play here means that Todd will only have 3 mana up. He's waiting another turn on it. Yeah, and not at all. Here's Wretched Griff getting rid of the Pilgrim's Eye. He'll draw a card. And say go. It looks like he drew Shrine, so that's 8 mana. He can just start hard casting all these Deep Fiends. Todd could get this. We go to Jacob Baugh's turn. He's got to know that 1 Shrine means that there's just going to be a sea of Deep Fiends coming. How does he want to play on? He's got counters in hand. He's got Summary Dismissal. He's got Spell Shrivel, Explosive Vegetation, Emrakul, Hedron Archive. If he taps down this, so he could like tap all his forests for the Archive, right? And then,
Sure, and then leave up Summary Dismissal.
yeah, now it's not great because Nissa will flip. You know, there's problems.
It's better than just losing in the next 2 turns, though.
It's probably better than just losing, and that's going to be his line. We see him tap all the green mana for Archive. That certainly is a tell, but in this kind of matchup, Todd doesn't have many ways to respect the tell.
Right.
We go back over to Todd Anderson. Draws Explosive Vegetation. He'll swing the Griff for 3, Jacob to 16. Here's land 7, it's a Shrine. Now his creature will turn into a Planeswalker. It's Nissa Sage Animist. She goes up to 4, flips a Primal Druid into Todd's hand. And he'll cast the Druid he picked up. See if he goes for Vegetation as well, or whether he wants to hold up the mana. Pass and upkeep. Yeah, he's going to go ahead and evoke, or emerge rather, that Deep Fiend out of Primal Druid, tapping 2 islands and 2 forests. Well, Jacob can counter, but it's kind of gross, right? Exiling, if you're paying 4 mana to counter the ability, I don't know if you did anything. He'll do it anyway. Summary Dismissal. We exile both the Deep Fiend, and then those lands don't get tapped.
So you can choose to be off of blue mana on Todd's following turn anyway, and Todd can have the 5/6, or he can cast the Dismissal. It's not the most exciting Dismissal, I will grant that.
Den Protector swings. Jacob plays a Yavimaya Coast. That's a blue source if he wants to try to counter again. He's got a Spell Shrivel left. His hand is Shrivel, Emrakul, Explosive Vegetation, and Crush. Not a bad hand, actually, for Jacob. But for Todd, he'll keep drawing cards. Nissa gives him a Pilgrimage. Creature, Artifact, Instant, Land.
This looks like an Emrakul count to me.
Yeah, Sorcery. There we go. That's 5 in the yard. We have 8 mana there. Todd set this up beautifully. He tapped Jacob off of Summary Dismissal mana. And now these off of Summary Dismissal mana, you see Land, Traverse with Delirium, Emrakul, and he's going to cast it.
And Baugh has the Shrivel. He can deal with the body.
Yeah, and he has to. So there he goes. He will Shrivel the Emrakul. Todd's still going to get his turn, though.
We'll find out just how much Todd can mess it up for Baugh.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of interested. I'm not sure how much damage. There's some decks that are kind of insulated against Emrakul because their cards only play one way. There's some like Black-White Control. If you ever take their turn, you can like 5-for-1 them.
Right.
There's some decks like Bant Company where you take their turn and you say, yeah, it's fine.
Something that Baugh does have is a Crush of Tentacles that you could use and pick up his Hedron Archive and set him back a little bit. Though you are giving him the Den Protector back in hand if you make that line. He left the Wretched Griff on tap, so he can just attack that in and just cast this Crush.
Sure, so kill the Den Protector. It means that Todd's Nissa's off the board, but I guess you got to get the Crush off one way or another.
Right.
The issue here is we see instant sorcery in Baugh's graveyard. There's 8 lands in play, 10 mana sources in play, and 11th in hand. So if you don't, you got to get rid of this Hedron Archive either by drawing cards or bouncing it, or Jacob has an Emrakul on the untap. Yeah, Den Protector goes and gets itself killed. So that's easy.
I'm thinking bouncing the Archive is better than just having Baugh draw 2 cards.
It's going to go take some pain to cast Crush of Tentacles. All right, that's the turn. Back to Baugh. 6.5 minutes left. Draws a blue card. Looks like to be its pieces of the puzzle.
So if you do want to play in that event, you can make your way up to side event.
Island for Baugh.
Baugh can just cast those 2 ramp spells on this turn.
The sign up for today's 5 p.m. standard challenge.
Four lands here. It's Hedron Archive. So Baugh's going to have a big ramping turn. Here's more mana. 1, 2, 3. Trying to figure out how he wants to tap things. Here's 4 for an Explosive Vegetation.
And I like this over going for the pieces of the puzzle on this turn. This better enables him to cast a big spell that he finds on finds with the pieces. He accelerates his mana by 4 on this turn. He could maybe pieces into a A time walk effect.
Yeah, well, he's got everything set up for Emrakul. Even if Todd Emrakul's him again, right? It's just not. He's got so much mana now. He's got 10 mana worth of lands and 3 card types in the graveyard. He doesn't even need the archive anymore.
Sure.
Nissa from Todd finds a forest. Looks like he can flip his walker again. And Todd may actually be land flooding here. We'll see. Nissa flips. Todd plays a land. She's gonna plus up to 4. Draws him a Nissa's Pilgrimage. Great, more lands, but he needs threats. If he even has forests left in his deck, we'll see.
He plays a lot of them.
Primal Druid. Wretched Griff emerging out of Primal Druid. Sacks it, gets a land, gets a card. Gotta be careful here. He's gonna lose his next turn to Baugh.
Open players, that is time in the round. Active
Todd draws off Griff, and now we're on to Baugh's turn. 4.5 minutes left.
Once again, open players, that is time in round 6.
We know Baugh has pieces of the puzzle and Emrakul. He's got 12 mana sources in play. There are 3 card types in his graveyard for Emrakul. So she costs 10. He'll have 2 left over. He's going to start with some pieces of the puzzle. Presumably he drew a land of some sort. Or he'll mill into one. Land, creature, finds, I think, just another pieces of the puzzle. And oh, it looks like a traverse. So good, finds 2, puts land into the graveyard. So Emrakul's cheaper now. She only costs 9. Conveniently, he has 9 mana sources.
Everything works out.
Lumbering Falls. That was a bold move by Jacob. If he did not mill another card type, he wouldn't have been able to cast Emrakul. But boldness is good here as he takes Todd's first turn. Todd's hand is all blanks except for that traverse he just drew.
And looking at 5 cards and finding a land is a pretty reasonable bet.
So Todd will cast the traverse. Oh, looks like he's going for an Ulamog here.
We can cast the Ulamog, exile itself.
It was on a cast trigger, so it's not in play
Oh,
yet.
you're right. So that would not be good.
Yeah, I'll just fail to find.
Decides against it.
Yeah. There's a situation, actually, where if Todd had a Wretched Griff in hand, Jacob would have found the Ulamog, made Todd exile his own things, then emerged away the Ulamog to Wretched Griff.
Yeah.
Or something silly like that.
That'd be something. Todd's hand not giving him much to work with, but that's hardly a bad thing.
Yeah, he just ends up not using the Nissa. Now Todd gets to take his own turn. He's gonna have. Jacob made him whiff on 1 pilgrimage. Can't make him do it on the second. Not enough land. Todd draws, and that's pretty good. I think it's another. Is this another Emrakul? I think it is.
Looks like an Emrakul.
The promised end is here. 13-13, the 3rd Emrakul of the game we've seen.
Todd cast Emrakul twice. That's square on my card.
Yeah, don't have that on my board.
Yeah, there's a Nissa's Pilgrimage.
So pieces of the puzzle and traverse the Ulfin Vault. Now, with both these cards are big maze and optional things, so and so is that. Todd's gonna make Jacob play his cards very poorly. So his first will traverse, finds nothing. Oh, there's an Ulamog here. Oh, maybe we will find something. Maybe we'll find Ulamog and exile away an Emrakul.
And
that would be neat.
Baugh has Yavimaya Coast, and he's at 14.
No, we find nothing. We find nothing. I don't know how many cards are in Todd's deck. It could be fewer than 20. If it is, you can't do that.
Well, no, or wait, no, Baugh gets the next turn.
Yeah, so Baugh
sure.
just exile Todd's whole library.
Yeah, if he has 20, then he just can't do it.
Pieces of the puzzle, and it's up to 2 instants or sorceries. I think Todd's going to choose 0.
0's a good
sure
number.
Sure does, yeah. Emrakul's trade. Jacob plays Blighted Woodland, sacrifices it, fails to find. Shuffles the deck. So, yeah, like I said, Todd could do a number on Jacob's hand here.
Mm-hmm.
But Todd's tapped out. Jacob gets a turn. He's got this Hedron Archive.
Yeah, can draw up to 3 cards here.
That looks like a land. So, yeah, if they had a Triska Decaphobia in play, they'd both lose right now. Jacob's going to go ahead and crack Hedron Archive, draw 2. Here's Lumbering Falls for Baugh.
And with only 1 falls, he can't entirely deal with the Nissa.
No, she goes down to 2. Jacob plays a land and passes. For cracking Hedron Archive, not much action there. I think he might have missed. Jace for Todd goes to work. Another Nissa's Pilgrimage. He'll pass. Does he have any forests left in his deck? Nope, not at all. He shuffles. So we go back over to Baugh. This is going to be an anticipate. You see how fast these guys are playing. They know they have very little time. It looks like it's going to be pieces of the puzzle or Jace for Jacob. He'll take the pieces of the puzzle. He'll try to put it together, changes his mind. It's Jace. Puts it in hand, cards on bottom. So forest, Jace in Jacob's hand. He'll play a forest. It's going to activate these falls. He'll go ahead and attack at Nissa. That's going to take care of Nissa unless Todd is willing to block for it. We'll see.
This looks like part the Water Veil.
Oh, that's much better. This is part the Water Veil. Let's do something different. Let's go ahead and activate. Let's make a 6/6 island alongside this. So it's going to swing in. They're in turns. All right, we're still in Jacob's turn. His turn is turn 0. That swing was at Todd, I believe. Todd, at 7 will confirm, though. Yep.
And with that part the Water Veil, Jacob also turn 1.
Yeah, turn 0 and 1. It's hardly fair. Activates Lumbering Falls. Swings both. Another part the Water Veil would have won the game there. Instead, yeah, so Todd's at 4 on the attack. Did Jacob draw something? Yeah, Explosive Vegetation. Okay. But Jacob has turns 3 and 5.
Right.
Well, unless there's another Emrakul, which there certainly could be. Turn 2 for Todd. Grapple with the past. Mills 3. How about Emrakul?
Yeah, and there's an Emrakul to mess up our turn count.
Counter. Yeah, he'll cast Emrakul. She will hit the board. So turn 3 will be Jacob's as played by Todd.
And barring Jacob drawing part the Water Veil on the turn after that, Todd should be able to stop Jacob from winning.
Well, Todd might even be able to win himself. Jacob is at 13. He draws Anticipate.
Well, he can't win until he gets his turn 5.
Yeah. He'll cast Anticipate. Den Protector, Forest, Yavimaya Coast. Todd actually has to make him take one of them. He'll take Yavimaya Coast. Yeah, that's right. We're going to make you hurt yourself with your lands. And activates the creatures and attacks. There's a 4/4 in play, by the way. There we go. There's the Ashaya token. So Jacob loses his board. We're now on to turn 4. This is Jacob's turn. Den Protector. That was a draw. That might work. Can he win, though? He would love to. He'll get Ulamog, cast it for 10, exile Todd's things. Jacob's not going to be able to win this one, though, in regulation.
Right. And Todd I don't think, he has nothing in his deck that can win this game either.
He's got Traverse. Let's see. Let's see if Traverse wins. What does he have left? Got a Deep Fiend. He's got his own Ulamog. He'll find Ulamog. Wait, he's going to tap them both? No, it's for 4. He has Baugh at 7.
That's not going to be enough.
Ugh. That's going to be the match. So they do not finish here in turns. And that's going to be our conclusion. It looks like they're going to be playing to a draw. So we're going to bring you back into the booth here. A big match between Garsh. Yeah, Todd says, hey, I think I'm going to win next turn, Jacob. This shakes his head. It's far too early for that sort of thing. Both players will go to 5-0-1 in what turned out to just be a dogfight of a game 3.
Yeah, Jacob missing on his third line for that couple turn